Hey guys, how's it going? So last Saturday we had our audio video club's amp off event. Spent a week in Florida last week there in Jacksonville, and we saw the leftovers of the hurricane. We didn't get hit so bad where we were working, just got the leftovers. Flights were delayed, flights were canceled, and then, you know, we were playing whack-a-mole with the flight times on Thursday. Managed to get a decent flight out Friday morning. Got home, went over to Greg's place to his audio shrine. Got everything set up Friday night, um, and then came the event on Saturday. And I wanted minimal equipment set up because at Greg's place he's got the electrical. It's not a separate service yet, so he's basically got a 110 line that's tapped off his main panel from his house. Eventually, he's gonna get a 220 line for the big air conditioner in. But the little air conditioner was running. The big, huge industrial super quiet ceiling fan was running on Saturday, and once in a while the ceiling fan would give out anytime we were swapping amps. But I mean, if it was triple digits outside, inside the shrine there, it was at least 85 degrees and all that stuff. But the guys toughed it out, and luckily no one had any breathing issues, myself included. And everybody had a really good time. The thing that we did in the club, and honestly, this is the first time in the club's history we've ever done something like this. In the past, anytime we had events at the Camelback Church or wherever they were previously, everybody was bringing in CDs, USB memory sticks, stuff like that to play, right? And it can be a pain in the ass. And a lot of people, they don't like traveling with their physical media. So what they'll do is, whoever's got the system set up, if there's Wi-Fi available in the building, well, they're the ones using it, so it'll be a request. Somebody's got Tidal, somebody's got Amazon Music, another guy's got Qobuz. Hey, can you play this? Can you play this? And then you're scrambling, looking it up, and it's a fucking pain in the ass. Well, once I got Greg's internet connection working, we ran an we basically met the 300-foot standard for Ethernet cable runs. And what I'd asked Greg was, when he was trenching the fiber that another club member asked him to put in, I said, run 2 shielded Ethernet cables at the same time, just in case. And he wasn't sure what the just in case was for, but I've been burned before. And again, I think I mentioned in an earlier video, we couldn't get the optical to electrical converters to work properly. Anyways, plug the Ethernet cable into his laptop, boom. We've got good enough speeds for streaming audio. So I took that Ethernet cable, plugged it into the back of the Blue Sound directly, and it worked like a charm, right? And also he's got a Wi-Fi router in there, so signal is awesome inside. So at the event, guys were coming asking, can you play this? And I'm like thinking to myself, wait a minute. We've got the streamer working. We can do AirPlay over Wi-Fi because, again, we've got excellent signal strength inside. And most of what we were playing was 1644 files anyways. I wasn't worried about DSD. In fact, we were using a 15-year-old ancient Cambridge Audio DAC Magic, which only does 48 kilohertz anyways. The LEDs, I think, claim 96 over coax, but whatever. So I wasn't too concerned about quality of the DAC and all that stuff. And at the same time, I didn't want to turn on a bunch of stuff inside the building. Worked like a charm. One guy had Tidal, looked up the song. I said, okay, go to your AirPlay. It saw Greg's node, the Blue Sound node, because he's got the newer one. So we ran the USB out from the Blue Sound into the USB in of the DAC Magic. No issues whatsoever. Another guy had Qobuz on his thing, and okay, cool. Another guy had Amazon Music. And so everybody got to hear what they wanted to hear, and nobody was scrambling to find the tunes because the guys are like, oh, no, you find it. No, you've already found it. See that airplay? Hit it. See that? Okay, done. And the guys were like, wow, we can actually take over the playlist, any one of us. And I said, yeah, that was the whole point, right? All right, so that's the technology part of it, of the video done and over with. Let's get down to the amps. So starting off, we had the Black Ice Audio F22. We put it up against the Prima Luna. I guess it was Prima Luna Premium HP or something, Dialogue HP or something like that. And again, these are all club members amps that they were kind enough to bring down with us. And the F22, which is Greg's, which you guys seen in the earlier videos, got the big boy KT170 tubes, just like my Black Ice F100s do. So my friend brought his Prima Luna down. I hate point-to-point wire amplifiers. I don't understand the need for it. Are you too cheap? Are you too lazy to learn how to use a circuit board layout tool, right? Because the problem with point-to-point shit is, no two amplifiers are ever the same. Your consistency from unit to unit is not the same. And if anything ever goes wrong, troubleshooting them is a motherfucker. Okay? Rant over. So we pitted the two amps, and the general consensus was at lower levels, the Prima Luna was pretty much on par with the F22. The Prima Luna had 8 KT150 tubes in it, so almost like a stereo version of my two F100s, but different, But what people were finding was when we cranked the volume on the Prima Lunas, the sound was fine, but it wasn't as smooth as what they heard out of the F22s. And, I'd never heard a Prima Luna amp, so I'd never shit on the things, but Prima Luna, my whole dig against them is because they're point-to-point wired. If they were a circuit board style topology like the Musical Paradise amp that Intuit Reviews lent me, which I still got to do the review for. Thanks, dude, for letting me hold on to it longer than normal. Then I wouldn't have really knocks against it. Anyhow, so that was the first amp off. And again, I'm not trying to say there was a winner in all this, but the whole idea of this event was people being able to hear different amps that you normally wouldn't hear in your own rigs. And I'll say this again. I know I said it in the video, but the BMR stand mounts are the best fucking speakers going for $2,000 or under. Because again, every time I go over to Greg's place and I sit in the fucking middle, I keep having to think that if the Marantz is on, did I accidentally turn on the center channel? No, it's off. I mean, they soundstage like a motherfucker. Phantom center is just fucking right there. And I'm using an ancient DAC with it and, and all this stuff. And it, so again, and we had the subwoofers turned off, right? So that was the first pairing, was the F22 versus the Prima Luna Dialogue HP Premium, whatever the fuck it is. Next pairing was the same guy that brought the Prima Lunas down. He also brought a Hagel 190, which, unfortunately we ran out of time setting it up. But I was more curious about the Prima Luna sound, and even more so, he had the original Gelita FX10, and at the time, he got a deal on the Prima Luna that he couldn't pass up, and I know that story all too well, because I kind of asked him, I says, if you had the FX10, why didn't you go into the Black Ice family of stuff, which basically, are legitimate improvements on the originals, right? All, reimagined by, Jim Fosgate circuits and implemented by Jared Dunkerson. He says, well, again, the Prima Luna was an offer he couldn't resist, so he went for it, and that's fine. Well, the little Gelita, we paired it up against, I think it's a 9-watt Deckware stereo amplifier. And again, it's another one of these fucking, point-to-point wired fucking things. And I think it had 300B tubes in it and all this. Well, so my friend with the Deckware stereo amp, he runs Klipschorns with it. And again, the Klipschorns, nothing wrong with them, but the room needs to be tuned a lot better, but we're working on that, I love a challenge anyways. So we pitted the Deckware, which supposedly runs for just over $2,000 if you had to buy a new one and wait 2 years for the fucking thing, which that's another thing. Why does Deckware have these long lead times? The COVID excuse is over with, and again, I know they're point-to-point wired, handmade, blah, 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 whatever. So the latest version of the FX10, which is, I guess, the FX11, right? There's major improvements done on it. It's got more Fosgate's magic inside, right? It's a high current design. It just, like, the Deckware sounded beautiful at low levels. But as soon as you gave it some gain, it compressed, it started to, get distorted, and it wasn't liking the 87 dB sensitivity or efficiency of the BMR stand mounts. So anyways, okay, fine. So the Black Ice literally, I guess you could say, won that one. Next up pairing was, everybody wanted to hear the benchmarks. Again, name brand. I brought the Argent Pure mono blocks with Leo's Ultra modules and Ernie's silver wiring inside of them, which I did dial in the night before. So next up was the Benchmark HB2s, I think they're called. My buddy there, Phil, brought them down, and we've used them at club events before, but this was the first time we really had a real analytical, approach to it. And damn, little amplifiers they haul ass. I mean, it's a switch mode power supply inside, with a Class AB gain stage and all this. And the hype is real. I mean, he had his speak-on connectors that he didn't want us using our regular speaker wires and stuff, and it was a bit of a pain in the ass to tear down and set up every time we were switching it in and out with something else. But I was impressed. I mean, if I wanted you could almost call it the little amplifier that could. I mean, So anyways, we listened to the benchmark several times that afternoon. And the one thing that I did throw into the mix was I would pair the Argent Pure mono blocks with Leo's Ultra modules inside, the Orchard Audio Ultra modules inside, with the Black Ice F360 tube preamp with the dimensions set to 0, tone controls turned off, right? It was basically a tube input stage at that point. And a lot of times the guys were like, that's a Class D amp with, I said, yeah. And they knew that, it had that tubey goodness because you could hear it not so much in the rolled off, there was no rolled off highs, so to speak, but it was a very smooth presentation. Because again, we'd already put the high power tube amps into the system, we put the low power tube amps into the system. Then we went with this whole hybrid approach, which I've been running, for the longest time. Back in the BAT preamp days, and then fast forward to the Black Ice F360 and the Aries, which Intuit is enjoying right now. So all that said and done, we went back into the benchmarks. And then before we let everybody go for one last pairing, I said, okay, we had the SPL preamp that was handling all input-output functionality, right? I did have it in line with the Black Ice F360. I just had the gain turned down so there was no distortion. But then for the last thing, the only time the F360 was ever used, by the way, was with the Argent Pure Orchard Audio amps. The rest of the time it was SPL directly out into the tube amps, into the transistor amps, and then we did a sound off between the Orchard Audio module amplifiers and the benchmark. No one could hear a difference between the two. Nobody. So hats off to Leo. I mean, once again, he's basically proved it, but I can't, there's only one club member that's bought these Orchard amps from me or, from Ernie. One guy, and it was a sale that was done outside the club, and that was my buddy Dennis, who I've been slowly modifying his Orchard amp that Leo built and shipped to Phoenix. It's a long story. So I'd done the silver wire mods on that, and everybody heard it and they were like, wow. And I was like, yeah, man, this is what Class D is all about now. You guys got to get with the times. So all in all, it was a really good amp off event. Hopefully the video isn't too long for you. One thing I will mention at the end of this, and I will be doing a video, I promise. Dan D'Agostino's factory next month, October the 17th. Starts at 7 p.m. If you're not a member of the AZAV club, doesn't matter. Come on down anyways. We'll get you in. And have a good rest of your week, guys, and cheers.